What's up? We're going to talk about how to do a perfect pitch. So I got a treat for you guys. I've been working on this training. Um, I got a worksheet for you, which I'll show everybody. Um, Let me crank up in this iPad and get right to it. Got some cool stuff. Got some cool stuff that nobody's seen yet. So this is going to be fun. This is going to be a lot of fun. All right, we're definitely recording. Let me share my screen thingy. Don't need to see that yet. All right. You should be able to see my. Oh, wait. Okay. Let's talk about the pitch. Very important part of the call. There's a logical order that we go through each one of these steps. So starting at the top left, problem, prescription, we go left to right, left to right, left to right. And then we handle objections. Okay, so I'm going to break down each one of these areas, but really it just helps, in my mind, if you're selling a coaching offer to get a good sense of what this looks like. Is there any difference between this and selling a consulting offer or an agency service? No, not really. The logistics might look different. The logistics down here is really just, you can also just substitute logistics for the delivery. Okay, so the model and the promise is like the what, it's like, this is like what you're getting. Okay, so like if I were to break actually this up, so there's really four parts to this pitch training. Okay, this is a universal marketing formula. So it's why, what, how, now, what they need to do now, in other words. Okay, so assuming you did your job of figuring out all their problems, then you have the prescription for said problems. The promise is important. The model is important. You don't have to use a model, but models are really cool. I'm going to show you some awesome stuff that we can do with models to actually do most of the selling for you without explaining a lot of crazy stuff. So I love models. Models are like my jam. We'll talk about objections or concerns around here, but first let's go into the promise. Okay, so I'm going to do this in a weird order. So we're starting with the promise. Now, this is a good example that I like to think of when before we go and explain all of our offer. Okay, so this is what a lot of people do when they basically, what am I trying to say? They come up with all this stuff that they're going to do for their clients. And imagine you own a pizza shop. Okay, so this is your prospect over here. So your prospect just wants a cheese pizza, right? You think that they want this pizza with the works on it. We have some pepperoni, green peppers, anchovies, mushrooms, pineapple, Italian sausage. Like you get all this stuff. Da 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 da. Assuming that you did a really good job up here in the why, and you had a really good discovery, and they really felt okay. So like your sales call, I was always taught this. You want them to feel two things on a sales call. Number one, this guy or girl or whatever the hell you are understands me. This guy gets me. This should say understands me. And I think they can help. I think they can help. Okay. So assuming you did a really good job up here, and then you ask some good consequence questions. The problem is like a recap. You should be like, wow, okay, they really get me. And a prescription, I think they can help. That's what the two why pieces do, which is like the sale is basically made. And sometimes this promise piece is all they need to know before they're ready to buy. Like a lot of the times they're like, oh man, that sounds perfect. Like, how much is it? And you could be like, oh, it's just 10K. And they're like, okay, well, like, can we break it up? Like, yeah, for sure. Cool. So that's the equivalent of them just coming into your pizza shop and just wanting a cheese pizza. But if you were like, hey, I've got this pizza that has all this stuff on it, they're like, oh, well, I actually just kind of wanted a cheese pizza. I'm gonna have to go think about it. And then they go, oh, let me see what that other pizza shop down the street got, you know? But a good promise and a good way to pitch, I like to say, okay, cool. High level, the promise is you get X result in Y time. And as an option, maybe you say guaranteed or whatever, but it's like X result in Y time. And then I would say something like, hey, what would be useful for you to know about how it works? And they might just say, how much is it? And you go, okay, well, you just kind of gather up all the things after the promise. And the other thing with the promise is you want to make you want to make them give you everything that they want to know up front. So they might say, I want a cheese pizza, but I also want some pepperoni on it and some mushrooms. So they might be like, well, how long do we work together? How many calls do I get? And like, I don't know, is it group or is it one-on-one? That might be all their questions. But if you go and just start blabbing and blabbing and blabbing, they might be like, oh, that's just like, I don't think I want that. You can actually create objections. So the other thing is making your promise custom, because your promise should be very custom to their situation. So for example, if they're making 10K per month and they want to get to 30K, you basically just say, okay, cool. So what we do is we work together to give you everything you need to get. Typically our clients are going from 8 to 12K per month to like the 25 to 40K range. And so we work together to get you there over the next 3 months. And they go, any questions on how that works? And they go, wow, that sounds perfect. And then you kind of shut up and you let them ask you questions. And then I would just say, hey, like, what would be useful for you to know at this point about how it all works, so that I make sure to cover everything that's relevant to you. And then let them talk. They'll just give you everything they need to know. And then if not, you can go through the next thing. So these are all different models. So we have like the genius model, the race car model that we use internally. So there's like, models are cool because you give people things like when you give people context, basically what happens is they can't argue with context. So for example, if you're like, okay, well, in this race car model, there's these 4 things that you need to grow this business, right? Like the 4 things could be, I actually wrote this down. What's his name? This is a good example of this. Where do you put it? Not important. Anyway, for our race car, we use audience, leads, calls, or sorry, no, we use audience, calls, sales, and then upsells. And that's like your race car. That's your vehicle to get you to, you insert your number. And then you have the driver. So there's 5 pieces. And you could basically say, great, of these 3 areas, which one do you feel like is the biggest problem, right? And then what we'll do is let's just say on this model of the race car, I'll give it an A for audience, C for calls. I guess I'll just write out calls, C for closes, CL, and then U for upsells, right? And so I'll say, hey, great. These are the different things that go into it. Oh, and then also D for driver. I'll say, great. Why don't you tell me which areas are most relevant to you right now? Something's going on with my colors here. What's going on with this Apple Pen? God dang it. And anyway, it's not letting me do. Oh, there we go. So they'll say, you know what? I have a good sized audience. I have this many audience, and I'll like say, okay, that's green. And they'll say, you know what? I'm not getting that many leads or calls, so I'm like yellow there, and I suck at closing, so my sales is red. And then people stay with me for a long time and they upsell. So I'm pretty good at that. And so, okay, great. So why don't you tell me, if we fix just your closing, how much more money do you make? What are you closing now? And what would taking that from red to yellow to green look like for you? And let them tell you. And then you just, as they're talking, you just punch in the numbers. So you're at 10%, and then you want to go to 30. You can make how much right now? How many new clients you get? And they say, I get like five, let's say 4 clients a month. And I was like, okay, so if we just double that, if we just took you from 10 to 20%, that would be 8 clients a month. And that's how much new revenue they'll tell you. It's like, okay, cool. I'll just mark that in somewhere. These are other models. There's like the attract, convert, deliver, um, message, marketing, brand. This is just like a triangle. Like you can have a generic kind of thing that they want. You just plug what they want in here. And if you have 3 pieces to your offer, like Tanner, me and Tanner were talking about his different frames. He does style stuff. So he has one that's like, it's effortless. It looks good. And what was the other one? It's authentic. So it's like, hey, what you can do too is like, if you have 2 of these, if it's effortless and it looks good, but it's not authentic, you're a try hard. So you can just make up terms for what happens when they're missing these if you sell like a non-ROI thing. If it's an ROI thing, you can usually punch in your numbers. And yeah, anyway, this is a cool model. Over here, it's like we have, let's say this is for sales, this guy. I don't really have a name for this type of model, but okay, so it's like on one hand, going up, you have authority. Down here, you have connection. So if you have no authority and no connection on a sales call, you're basically useless. If you have a lot of connection but no authority, you're in the friend zone. If you have a lot of authority but no connection, over here, you're like a cold doctor. You're just kind of like, yeah, I don't know. It's okay, but it could be better. And then you have like an advocate where you have authority and connection, or like an advisor or trusted advisor or something. So you can come up with stuff like that. This one's called the 2 realities, which I really like. So I'm actually just going to expand on this promise a little bit, because this is so important, like the promise and the model. So you can actually use models for all this stuff if you have a way to draw. So I'm just going to move down here. So for example, like you can, as you're talking to someone, you can say, okay, cool. Like this is your trajectory over the next few months. So like it's based on what we would call the 4 futures or the 3 futures. So it's like, so there's the darn it. There's the, if nothing changes, you're here. And this path is like, okay, this guy, if you do everything right, you're here. The wow path. Down here, you're like in the, oh shit, things are getting worse, because nothing actually, not only did not change, but we it got worse. And so I could say the difference here is it's speed, and it's like knowing what to do, and maybe it's like speed and feedback, which is really what we help you with. Speed plus feedback plus like a good plan or whatever. And so really we focus on these 3 big areas. So like this could be your whole promise. So the first one is, hold on. Like, let's say the first one is getting them more leads. So I would say, how many leads are you getting right now? And then they say 20 per month. I say, okay, if we can double that to 40, like how much more money is that for you right now? All right, if everything else stays the same. And then they'll go, let's just plug in some numbers. So let's say they're at 10K. Well, okay, well, that alone will get me to 20K. I say, okay, and then now we have closing. And so let's say that we're able to double the leads, and then also take your closing percentage from 10% to 20%. So how much would that be? We're doubling your sales, right? So that would be another 20K. So right now, if you're doing the math at home, we're up another 40K if we just fix these two things, right? And then we have upsells. And so what percentage of your clients go into your back end program? Do you have a back end program? It's like, okay, yeah. So it's like, let's say that they have a front end program for 5K and then a back one for 10K. And so really it's like, okay, right now, maybe 5% of my clients do this 10K one, or I don't know, 10% do it. It's like, what if we can get that up to 20%? Oops. Like, anyway, what if we can go from 10 to 20, and then you just get them to do the math, and they're like, oh wow, that's another like 40K right here. And so all in, we're looking at 20 plus 20 plus 40, like another 80K, which is like a seven figure business, basically, just under. And these might be conservative numbers, you know. Anyway, this is one way to just draw out the promise, which is pretty cool. I'm gonna delete all this, but yeah, these models are really powerful because people are like, oh wow, like this is really cool. I get it. You get the I get it factor without having to go so deep into them. Okay, so where were we? The two realities. Let's look at the two realities. I really like this because one thing you can do when you're on your discovery call, I know it's about pitching, but you know, you got these two realities. Okay, reality B. Yeah, let me actually do this. You got reality B, which is green. We got reality A, which is bad. Okay, and so up here we go, you know, here's like someone making 10K per month. This is their current reality, right? Reality A is current. Reality B is desired. So they're anxious. We want to know internally what, like, we want to map out their reality invisibly, the invisible reality, which is their feelings, and then visible. So 10K per month, they have like, I don't know, 5 clients. They work 50-hour weeks, and you know, they're overwhelmed. They're lacking, I don't know, like lacking no balance. You know, you just let them talk and say, okay, well, like, tell me more. Gosh, 10K per month. We're working way too hard. We got 5 clients. Tell me how you would like things to be. And then they'll go, I would love to be at 30K per month, you know, working maybe 20-hour weeks. The clients don't really matter, but maybe I would like to charge more. What if I could get to 30K with the same amount of clients? Just or maybe like double. Let's say I get to 15 clients. And I would say, okay, great. What else? How would you like to feel? You know, like feeling, you know, confident. And I would like to feel in control, and just like be able to just finally breathe that sense of freedom that comes from this. And I was like, okay, great. So here's the thing. To go from reality A to reality B, it's going to take a lot. It's going to take commitment. It's going to take pain. It's not easy going from that to this. It's going to be painful at first. You're going to have to invest. You have to invest in yourself and your business to learn new skills, new systems. You're going to have to be all in. You know, you're going to have to get out of your comfort zone. CZ for comfort zone, you know? So my question to you is, are you willing to do all that? And they go, yeah. I'm like, are you sure? And then you go, yeah. Okay, well, like the real thing here is to go from A to B. The biggest thing you need to do is you need to give yourself permission. Okay. You need to give yourself permission that I can change, or else you're just going to sabotage yourself. And they're like, oh, I'm all in. I'm like ready to change. And then we say, great. Then we can go into our, our pitch. So anyway, the models are just good for getting people to see stuff. So the two realities is essentially like what I just mapped out is essentially this stuff. 4 futures, we could do 3 futures. Really, it's like the wow future, the good future, the okay future, and like the oh crap future. You're like, if you work with me, you'll be up here. If you do nothing, you'll be down here at the okay one, or even worse, down here. And then, if you take everything that we spoke about today and you try to do it yourself, maybe you get here. And then maybe you assign numbers. This is like 80K per month, crushing. This is like they go from 10 to like 25, which is okay. Here, everything stays the same. Here, they they go down, whatever they don't want. Okay, so anyway, let's talk about the why part. So we're doing this obviously out of order. These ones are the important ones to kind of nail. So the problem, you essentially recap their main problems. And so the first one I'll be doing is like their gap. Gotcha. So based on what I'm hearing, you're making 10K per month and you're trying to get to 30K so that you can get more freedom. You can get this, you can get that, right? And the main problem is you're just like have inconsistent lead flow, and your closing ability is just not there. And maybe you know what I also like to do for this, just to kind of, rather than do pain point 1 and 2. So you can do pain point 1 and 2, leads and sales. So it's like the main thing is like you need more leads and more sales, and then you also have this roadblock. Like you tried to do this, it didn't work. You tried to do that, it didn't work. You have this roadblock plus consequence, right? Ultimately, you feel that if you don't fix your lead and your sales, you might have to go back to your oh crap reality, which is a corporate job, working for a boss that hates you, maybe not hates you, but you're not happy doing it, and you're not willing to accept that, right? And they go, right. So the prescription, what do they need? This is not the same as your model. Okay, so if your model is 3 things, like, oh, it's like lead, sales, da da da, prescription's very vague. Like you basically listen to them, and it's like you're the doctor. You have your little prescription pad. They say, I need this, this, and this, and you go, okay, gotcha. So you need this thing, and this thing, and they go, yeah, exactly. Or like, okay, great. You hand it back to them. So example here, you want to go from 10K per month to 30K for XYZ reasons. You go right, and they go right. Your main challenge is finding enough leads who are qualified, warm, and ready to buy. Then you also don't have a way to turn them into repeat buyers, right? And they go, yeah. Okay, great. So you need a lead generation system, a way to nurture and filter the leads into buyers, and a backend system to upsell them. That's what I would add there, to upsell. Sound about right? And they go, oh my God, exactly. So your solutions are like generic. Like it's a lead generation machine. It's a way to effortlessly lose weight. You need like a meal plan that works for you. You need this, you need that. It's very vague. This is not like what you do. You need like a closing system that works for you, or like an effortless closing system. And you need like an upsell client success back end program. BE for short, back end program. And they're like, yeah, perfect. I'm like, hell yeah. Okay, so that's like the first part, the why up here, the problem in prescription. It's very simple. Promise, we can just straight up say, cool, so we're going to help you go from 10K per month to 30K in the next 30 days by implementing those prescriptions. Okay, you want to see how it works? And they go, yeah, cool. And then I would probably do the triangle because it's very easy. So it's like 30K per month. So the three things we need to attract new clients, or it could be the attract, convert, deliver model up here, which is a version of the Genius model. But triangle is easy to draw out, and you can get them to draw it out. So you can say, okay, cool. So you got a pen and piece of paper? Yeah. If you don't have an iPad like me, you say, okay, draw a big triangle in the middle, put 30K per month, and then at the top, give it a title that says my 30K per month plan. You got that? Yeah. Let me know when you write that out. Okay, cool. On the bottom of the triangle, you're going to want to write brand. Okay, brand. Brand is really important. It's the foundational piece of your business. And so, how you told me that your leads are coming to you and they're not really trusting you. Well, that's a surefire sign that you just don't have the brand yet. You're not an authority in the marketplace. And so naturally, when people come to you, they don't know enough about you. So it's harder to sell. But if you have the brand, you basically just say the opposite of what those problems are. So it's like you would have way easier sales. People would be coming to you already wanting to work with you. And it would just be like 10 times easier. Does that make sense? Yeah. And then write messaging on the left side of the pyramid here. Now, messaging is important because you told me that a lot of your leads are not qualified, right? You want to work with people that are making 10K per month or more in their business, but you keep getting newbies, right? Well, the problem is that your messaging is off. We're talking to the wrong people. So what we're going to do for you is really dial in that messaging and fine tune it so that we're only attracting these right people. And then the marketing piece is finally the right side of the little pyramid here. Marketing is just making sure that you achieve omnipresence with your brand and your messaging. So we get you in front of every single place where your ideal client hangs out. And that is going to pump up the volume of leads. So once we start consistently taking over the marketing, you're going to start going from that 20 to 40 leads per month range. But it'll be way better because they know who you are and they're the right people. So you won't have to waste time. And like that alone will get you more sales. Do you see how that works? Yeah. Do you feel like, I guess of the three here, which one do you feel like would be most relevant for you? And it's like, oh, the brand for sure. And then the messaging, that makes a lot of sense. Actually, they all are. Like, can you see how this would get you to that 30K range? Maybe not overnight, but it's like the path that you need. Yeah, that makes so much sense. Cool. Awesome. Boom, boom, boom. Let's talk about objections. So there's I call this the onion of bullshit. There's really 6 objections here, and we start with the outer one, right? So it's uncertainty, the external layer of objection. So someone says I want to think about it. Someone says I want to talk to my spouse. Someone says it's a lot of money. No matter what they say, we always start with uncertainty. Gotcha, not a problem. I mean, that aside, do you feel like this will work for you though, or where's your head at? I feel like I'm skipping something here. I am definitely skipping something. Yeah. So let's not go to objections yet because I didn't do a little bit on the logistics phase and the commitment phase. Logistics is pretty simple. After you go through the model, you explain how you're going to get them or like what you're going to do to get them the results. The how is just like what they need to know to like what the basics of like how you deliver the service. So listen, like basically here's what the 3 things you need. If you sell coaching, it's like you're going to need plans, tools, and support, or you'll need like a blueprint or a roadmap. You'll need a strategy, and you'll need the help or the support or the accountability. You're a fitness coach. It's like you need the game, like you need like the roadmap to get you there. We're going to the exercise and nutrition plans, and then the accountability, whatever. And does that make sense? And you explain these ideally. Everything that we do needs to be very much, you got to follow the PS formula. Problem solution. Okay. Especially for the model, if you rewind and see how I explained this model, it was very much problem solution. Well, you know how you told me this? Yeah, da 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 da. And so, gosh, so the three things you need to achieve this goal, the way that we deliver this is simple. Number one, you need a plan. What is the problem of not having a plan? Well, let's say I give you the perfect map, step by step, exactly how to go from New York City to LA. Does that map really help if you're in Miami? No. So you need a plan, a map that's custom for you. Does that make sense? Before you're just kind of going off somebody else's map, or we were even worse, you didn't even have a map. You were just trying to figure out, you were just trying to like fart around and see what works. Yeah, that makes sense. And then we need the tools, or like, and then we need like, it just depends what you're selling, but you need a way to execute the plan. Essentially, that's number two. You need like the skills, the tools, the strategies, you need the systems, whatever. And then finally, you need support. What happens if you get stuck? Well, we're here. We got your back. You get 24/7 access to us through this channel. We meet once a week or twice a week. You get this, you get that. So we're always there in case you get stuck. We've got your back immediately. It's not like these other programs where you join and you're just a number and then you're like, you're left to the wild. We got you. You see how that would help. And you say, yeah, that sounds perfect. And then really the commitment phase is like temp check, time commitment, price drop. So temp check, super important. Okay, committing phase. The temp check is designed to pre-handle uncertainty. So on the process, the language is simple. When it comes to the process itself, do you feel like this is the answer for you? Or do you like, I guess on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being this sounds horrible, get me off the phone, like I think you're scammers. 10 is like, wow, I think this is exactly what I need. Where would you land on the process? Oh, I'm like a 9, I'm like a 10. If they say something like that, you're like, okay, cool, awesome. If they say something like an 8, I'll be like, okay, well, 8's pretty high. Like, why not a 4? Well, yeah, it's like, why do you think it'll work for you? Basically, what do you feel like would be most helpful? Oh, well, you got this and you got that and you got this. Okay, is there something that would bump you from an 8 to a 9 or a 10? It's like, well, I'm just curious about this. See, the whole idea of the temp check is to get. So the temp check is very important. So the temp check is to, what's the word? We want to know in advance if they have uncertainty. We want to prevent uncertainty objections, and everything is an uncertainty objection. Prevent D, should not say why. Prevent uncertainty objections. And there's 3 things that they could be uncertain about. Number 1 is your process. They don't think it'll work for them. Number 2 is you or your company. Number 3 is, guess what? It's themselves. Right? They might not even believe that they can do it themselves. So all of these things, these beliefs require, actually, I would even say there's a 4th one, and this is like a world belief. They might not even think it's possible, or like, oh, COVID's going on, so I can't, like, I'm not even able to start a business right now. It's not even possible. You or your company. But we want to temp check right here, the process. Do you feel like this process is the answer for you, or what are you thinking? And then I go, yeah, I do. Okay, but why though? What do you feel like? Why do you feel like it would work for you? Well, because you have this and this, and like, okay, awesome. If they give you a good answer, like really what we're listening for in the temp check is one thing, and that is tonality. There's a tonality of certainty and there's a tonality of uncertainty. If they say, hey, where would you land on the process? Do you feel like this could be the answer for you? And they go, yeah, I'm like, I think it will. Hold on, that's a tonality of uncertainty. Well, I detect some hesitation. What's coming up for you? Well, I'm just not sure. And then you would hit them with a 1 to 10. I'm like, I'm like a 7. Gotcha. I've done a lot of these calls, and it sounds like you're closer to a 4. So why don't we talk about it? Like, what do you feel like this doesn't have that you need? Well, just not sure about this. I'm not sure about that. And then you can answer these objections ahead of time, right? And they're not objections yet. Like when we are before we drop the price, any objection is it's think of it like wet concrete. As soon as you drop the price, concrete hardens. So you want to get all this stuff out of the way first. And so the attempt check is to get rid of the uncertainty, the outer layer of the onion, right? And if you did a really good job of explaining, um, well, number one, your promise, your model, your cost of inaction questions, your goal questions in the discovery, that will help with the value. But it still might come up. They still might say it's too much. And there's a way to get through all these. And honestly, the best training that I've seen is from Alex Hormozy. Like this is how he approached it. So I just kind of like completely ripped it off and added uncertainty. But he has a video called Ethical Selling where he just walks through the framework for all of these. And it's really helpful. I was like, damn, sometimes people will get a spouse objection, right? And people will make the mistake of trying to bypass spouse, which is down here, number 2. And they'll be like, oh, well, it's just your pattern of decision making, which is like they're just trying to skip past the objection and go right to number 1, which is the most powerful, but you can't do that. If someone's real thing is that they're afraid, well, that's one thing. But if they're telling you, I don't have the time to do it, you have to address the time first. You've got to peel back the layer of the onion. So you don't just go straight down to number 1. Like, well, are you just afraid? Like, just do it, bro. Like, no, you have to get them to admit that, oh, I actually do have the timing. I'm just being a bitch. And then we go to the next fit is like, are you a special snowflake? Like some people just think that, oh, this won't work for my business. Authority, support, decision maker. That's like, I gotta talk to somebody else. I don't have the authority. Value is like, I don't think it's worth the price. You shouldn't get a value objection, really. You might get a financial, like a logistical objection. So this is the way that I was originally trained, how to handle objections. So it's either uncertainty. We go uncertainty first, and then we typically go down here to logistics. And then if it's not a logistical thing, then we go to fear. It's almost always fear, right? So logistics is your typical ones. So it's like, it's going to be money or financial. It's going to be timing. I'm just busy. It's going to be spouse or business partner or band or whatever the hell. You got to talk to God, blah, 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 whatever. And then like if it's money, let's just say there could legitimately be like money could be an actual logistical concern, or it could be a fear concern. Like they're just afraid to invest. And it's really important to know how to figure out which one's which, but I just always treat it as logistical first until we peel back the layers of the logistics. And then there's still, we basically go into problem solving mode. Okay. We get on the same side of the table as them, and we help them understand, well, like, you actually can do this. Like, let's work it out. Like, let's figure out if we can do it. Okay. So like, tell me what the money situation is. Is it cool to talk about that for a minute? Yeah. Yeah. Because like worst case scenario, we set up a plan that will work in the future once you get some more money, or maybe we can figure it out now. And go, okay, cool. So before I do, like, like, when it comes to uncertainty, you almost always ask, okay, money aside, do you feel like this would even work for you though? Or like, where's your head at? And they go, yeah, of course. But why though? Well, because of this and that and this. Okay, cool. So for the money, so you're saying you're not in so much of a how or should I do this? Like you can see this working for you, but it's more of like a how can I make this work? And they go, yeah, okay, well, let's talk about it. It's cool if we have a conversation about the money. Yeah, okay. Well, like we probably want to ask, We probably want to ask a bunch of stuff. Hold on, let me delete this. Bam, 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 bam. We probably want to ask a bunch of stuff. Hold that thought. So if it's logistical, I want to figure out a few things. Their monthly income. I don't know why I wrote it backwards. I want to know their cash on hand. And I want to know their access to credit. And then I'll figure out how to I'll come up with a payment plan based on this. I usually don't just give them a payment plan. I don't say, okay, it's 9K or 3 payments of 3. I'll say, well, like I don't really have any custom, or sorry, I don't really have any like um, pre-made payment plans. Usually it's all pretty custom according to what is best for the client. And so I'll go through these. And then let's say that my offer is 10K. Okay. The prospect has an income of 10K per month. The other one, it's good to know their income and also their expenses. So we call that free cash flow. They make 10K per month. Their bills are 6K. Okay, so that leaves how much for the folks at home? 4K per month. Okay, your mind's already going to, well, I could do a 3 pay of 3,300 or 3,300 and da 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 da. This is true. But we keep going. Okay, what's cash on hand? What do you got in the bank? Okay, I got 4K per month left over. Okay, and you got 7K, let's say, in savings, and like another 5K in your debit or your credit. Not your debit. No, not your credit, but your whatever. In your why am I being my brain's not working. So they got a total of 12K in the thing, in the bank. It's like, okay, cool. And like sometimes I would just say, okay, cool. Well, sometimes it makes sense to save this money in case something bad happens. What about access to credit? You know, like a lot of entrepreneurs, they when they're buying an asset, they'll just put it on credit. Do you have what is your access to credit? This should say payment plan. And then I go, I have a credit line with let's call it 7,500. Now this person can clearly do a pay in full. So I would just say, listen, bro. I'm gonna delete this too. I would just say, listen, I think the best thing for you here is to just pay it in full. And the reason why isn't because of any other reason other than you're drawing a line in the sand. You're here right now. You know, remember the two futures? You're over here in reality A. Do you really want to stay there? No, I'm like frustrated. I hate my life. I'm working too hard. Right. You want to get to a reality B? It's going to, like I said, it's going to take commitment. It's going to take you going all in. And I think that you should just pay it off in full. You have enough coming in. You have the credit. You're going to make the money back. You already told me that, right? So like, let's just do it. And sometimes they'll go, yeah, okay, cool. Other times they'll go, you know what? I still got to think about it. That's not how I make decisions. Listen, bro, at this point, we can basically just cross off money logistical and we go to money fear. Gotcha. So what I'm hearing is you can do it. You believe it'll work for you, but you're still scared. Is it just nerves? I wouldn't say still scared, but like it sounds like you're just a little scared, bro. Be honest. Is it just nerves? And we want to minimize, right? So we minimize, bro. It's just nerves. Guess what? You're supposed to feel nervous when you're making a big shift like this. It's like an identity change, bro. You're used to working super hard and not getting that much. We're talking about, you know, your mindset here. Do you want to go from having a poor person's mindset, or do you want to go rich? Your current mindset and your current reality. Which side of the coin are you on? Which side of the fence are you on? Or the line, whatever. They're like, oh, I'm definitely, I'm comparatively poor. Okay, well, what decisions do you have to make to kind of, get across that line? What do you feel like you need to do to put yourself in the best position to do that right now? Well, I should do this, but I always think about it. Okay, listen, bro. Is it fair to say that you're just looking for a bit of certainty here? And they go, yeah. Okay, well, that's, I get it. I get it. But here's the thing. The real question is, are you 100% committed to doing everything it takes to get from point A to point B, to go from poor to rich? Because if you're not, we can't help, because we only work with people that are 100% committed to change their life. Because we can show up and do everything we can do, but if you're acting from fear, are you acting from fear or vision right now? Well, you're probably acting from fear. And guess what? When all your decisions come from fear, what happens? Well, you get what you we get this reality up here. We go to the oh crap reality. This is where you could actually draw out the four futures. This one is acting from pure vision. The top two, I guess you could say. The okay future is if nothing changes, and the bottom one is fear, right? Everything that you don't want is on the side of you acting out of fear instead of vision. So you tell me, what do you got to do to put yourself and your family in a position where you're making the kind of money that is going to change your life, but more importantly, you're getting the freedom that you want? Because you told me that you're not spending the time with your family, and like you're not seeing your kids grow up. So what are you going to do right now to put yourself in that position? It's like, well, I know. I know I should do it, but I'm just afraid. I get it, bro. I've been there. We all have, but afraid, like, here's the thing. It's not fear. You know what it is? What? It's like we all have two versions of ourselves. There's like a version of you that's your higher self. This person's like a superhero. This is what God sees you as. And then we have, guess what? We got a lower self. This is this is you right now. This is your higher self. We actually have our lower self down here. It's like a mental midget. This is our fear self. Fear self, this is our vision self. If you were here with a version of you that makes 30K, if he were to appear here, this is your higher self. This guy, what would he say to this guy and to this guy? What would he suggest you do? Well, he'd probably tell me to do it, man, because there's nothing else to lose. Right. We're just talking about 10K here, which is, you're going to make that back in the first month if we do everything right. If we hold up our end of the bargain and you show up and do what we need you to do. If you're there doing everything that we tell you to do, and you're showing up for help and you're following everything that we were saying, you have nothing to lose and everything to gain here. But the only way that we're going to go from, your current shitty reality to this upward trajectory, 30K plus, 20-hour work weeks, the freedom, the confidence. The only way we're going to get there is by doing one thing right now. What do we got to do? This version of you right here, this tiny little gremlin who's living in fear, we have to give ourselves permission to say, adios, bitch. We got ourselves, give ourselves permission to step into this version of you right here. that means one thing, one decision away. Are you going to be the type of person that acts from vision, or are you going to be the type of person who acts from fear? What do you want to do? Let's just run it. Let's just do it, man. Why don't we just do it? All right, let's just do it. What credit card do you want to put that on? What's your credit card number? And then you just fucking close them. So that's pitching. Questions, concerns, let me know. I got this sheet. Bam, I'm going to share my screen here. So you can kind of go left to right. So you can write your stuff in here. I'll drop this somewhere. Plan tools support. You can choose your model. Yeah. Hopefully you got something out of this training. If you did, let me know. Go make a cool testimonial and tell everyone in the world how cool Ben is and how much money we're going to make after you implement this. That would be dope. All commissions from your future sales come to me. No, that's kidding. Time to go slice some objections in half, cash and checks and break some necks, metaphorically. Anyway, hopefully you guys got something out of this. And if you did, let me know. All right. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, hit your boy up. Come to our calls on Tuesdays, 1 p.m. Eastern. And yeah, talk to you guys later. Peace.